Good day, students. This is Director RJS Olarve and I will be your teacher for General Chemistry 2. And for the first chapter, we're going to talk about forces of attraction, heat, and the rate of reactions. And for the introduction, did you know that the various properties of solids and liquids are highly dependent on the intermolecular forces of attraction that hold their particles together? And the interaction of these substances is usually influenced by intermolecular forces of attraction. A solute can interact with a solvent, forming a various solution, right? With different properties compared to those in their starting substance. And this chapter, we're going to focus on the kinetic molecular theory, at the same time its model, and the concept of the intermolecular forces of attraction in order for us to explain the different properties of solids and liquids.
And to begin, let us have lesson 1, what holds solids and liquids. So let us have first the different lesson objectives that we are targeting for this lesson number 1. So at the end of the lesson, you will be able to know the following. First, the kinetic molecular model of liquids and solids. Second, the characteristics of solids and liquids. Third, the types of intermolecular forces of attraction. Fourth, the influence of intermolecular forces of attraction to the properties of liquids and solids. And last is the different types of crystals such as ionic, covalent, molecular, and metallic. So at this point in time, let's have first the different preliminary activities. So activity number 1 is called visual analyzation. So as you can see on your screen, so we have a picture showing the iceberg that is surrounded by water, and at the same time, this is located on your module. You can also browse your module for easy referencing. And right now, so we're going to answer different questions that follow with regards to this visual analyzation. So the first question is, what are icebergs made of? What about liquid water? Second, how do their physical properties differ from one another? So the iceberg and the water, how do their physical properties differ from one another? 3. How the water molecules in ice are arranged compared to those in liquid water? And last, so what lesson in life can we get from iceberg? Next activity is demonstration. So for this activity, I will not be able to have the demonstration, but instead, we're just going to imagine. Imagine na lang natin tong kunwari, okay, dinedemo ko siya sa inyo. So for number 1, so I am going to show some Lego blocks. So may pinapakita ko sa inyo ngayon na mga Lego blocks. And imagine niyo yung mga Lego blocks na yun are particles in the atomic or the molecular level. Imagine nyo na? Okay? Next. So, habang yung mga blocks are loose, habang hindi sila magkakadikit, so imagine niyo na ilalagay ko siya sa isang jar. And the question now is, what state of matter do these Lego blocks represent? Next. Kung kanina loose siya, ngayon naman, pagko-connect-connectahin ko yung mga blocks together in order for me to come up with a bigger block. And yung block na yun, dapat kasya pa rin siya dun sa opening ng container natin. And the question now is, what physical change is represented by the Lego blocks forming a bigger block? From loose, ngayon connected na siya. So, ano daw yung physical change na na-represent ngayon ng mga Lego blocks na nag-form ng bigger block? And last, so then, after nun, ito-transfer ko yung big block na yon doon sa isa pang container by pouring it. And the question is, what happened to the shape of the connected blocks when they are poured from one container going to the another container? So hopefully with this demonstration or let's say imagination ay na-demo ko sa inyo kahit sa isip lang itong activity na to.
At this point in time, I am asking you to please pause this video for a moment and kindly answer activities number 1, 2 on your module. So although hindi ko kayo nakikita, hopefully ay ipopause mo na ngayon itong video na to. Hoy, pause mo na muna to.
So let's say natapos mo na ngayong sagutan yung activity number 1 and 2 and kino-continue mo na to ngayon yung panonood ng video tutorial na to. And we are going to proceed now with the discussion or lesson proper. So right now, nakita nyo sa screen nyo yung different phases or physical state of matter. So we have here solid, liquid, and gas. But right now, we're going to discuss the characteristics of solids and liquids in terms of their properties, at the same time in terms of their particles. So let's start with the properties of solids. So solids have definite shape. Example niyan ay libro. Ba? Ang libro meron siyang definite na shape na masasabi mong square siya or rectangle siya, ba? And also solids do not flow. Unlike sa mga liquid na nagfo-flow, pero ang solid kahit anong gawin mo hindi yan magfo-flow. Because that is not his characteristic or property. Next, solids, they are virtually incompressible given the fact that the particles of solids are compacted, so meaning it is virtually incompressible. And last, they expand when heated. Kasi kahit naman compacted sila once na nagkaroon ng application ng heat. So now let's have the characteristics of liquids in terms of its properties. Number 1, they have no definite shape. Instead, ang shape ng liquid is yung shape ng container kung nasaan siya. Second, unlike sa solid na hindi nagfo-flow, lahat ng liquid nagfo-flow yan. Third, they are very difficult to compress given the fact that the particles are slightly far away from one another, so medyo mahirap talaga siyang i-compress. And they slightly expand when heated. So compared to the solid, no, mas mag-expand itong si liquid given the fact that the particles are really far away from one another, especially pag nagkaroon ng application ng heat. And we're done with the properties of solids and liquids. Now let's have the particles of solids. So solids are strongly attracted to each other given the fact that the particles of solids are really close with one another. They are really compacted. So ibig sabihin yan, they are really strongly attracted to one another. And strongly, you are the strong attraction it is, the better the intermolecular forces of attraction. And take note that the particles of solids vibrate a little but not much compared to liquid and gas because the particles of solids are really compacted. And last, they vibrate faster when heated. Okay? They vibrate faster when heated. Mag-vibrate pa rin naman, pero compared to our liquid, yan, so particles of liquids, so weakly attracted to each other and they break their interaction easily, especially if there is an application of heat. So talagang halos makakagulo na yung mga particles of liquids. Second, so they vibrate and move more than those in a solid. And they move faster when heated. And because of the compaction of the particles, so malaki yung epekto nun kung mag-move or mag-vibrate yung particle ng liquid or ng solid. So those are the characteristics of liquids and solids in terms of their properties and particles. And right now, let's have activity number 3, audio-visual analyzation. So right now, I'm going to show you. Right now, let's have activity number 3, audio-visual analyzation. So I have here a video and you are going to watch this video and answer the questions that follow. And we have actually 2 questions under activity number 3, audio-visual analyzation. So let us watch this video. for question number 1, how do temperature affects the movement of particles? Write your answer on the space provided. Next is, what is the relationship of the temperature to the intermolecular forces of attraction? Take note, I already mentioned it earlier, that the greater the intermolecular forces of attraction, ibig sabihin yan, the more compacted the molecules are. And this time, explain the relationship of the temperature to the intermolecular forces of attraction. And now, let's have the kinetic molecular theory. So what is this kinetic molecular theory? So let's have the kinetic molecular theory of matter states the following. So number 1, matter is made up of particles that are constantly moving. Whether mapa-solid, liquid, gas, yung state niyan, still there is a constant movement happening inside of that matter. Next, all particles have energy, but the energy varies depending on the temperature of the sample of matter is in. And this, in turn, determines whether the substance exists in the solid, liquid, or gaseous state. Definitely, no, itong kinetic molecular theory, pinapaliwanag niya and in-emphasize niya that mapa-solid, liquid, or gas ka man, yung particle mo, it is moving, so definitely it has energy. And yung energy na yun ay nakadepende doon sa temperature na meron doon sa matter na yun. Next, the molecules in the solid phase have the least amount of energy, while gas particles have the greatest amount of energy. So take note of this idea. Yung solid phase, sinabi natin kanina that the particles of solid are really compacted. And the more compacted the molecules are, the lesser the amount of the energy. And if you're going to compare the particles of gas, which the particles of gas are really moving freely, so ibig sabihin din yan, mas mataas yung kanyang amount of energy. But the compacted the molecule is, mas mataas yung kanyang intermolecular forces kasi compacted siya. At the more na magkakalayo yung mga particles, lesser din yung intermolecular forces of attraction. Next, the temperature of a substance is the measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles, because the kinetic energy of the particles are greatly influenced by the temperature or by the external temperature. Katulad ng video na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, di ba? Talagang sobrang apektado yung kinetic energy of the particles. And a change in phase may occur when the energy of the particles is changed. Totoo yan. Due to the change in temperature, so magkakaroon ng change in phase. At dahil nagkaroon ng change in phase dyan, diba, magkakaroon din ng behavior or changing sa behavior ng mga particles. Next, so kinetic molecular theory also states that there are attractive forces between atoms or molecules, and this becomes stronger as the particles move closer together. And these attractive forces are called intermolecular forces. So ito na yung sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, the more compacted, the more attracted the particles are, the more or the greater the intermolecular forces is. And also, this kinetic molecular theory of matter explains how matter can change among the phases of solid, liquid, and gas. So basically, pinapaliwanag din dito kung paano yung solid magiging liquid, yung liquid magiging solid, yung solid magiging gas, and so on and so forth. So next, let's have activity number 4, decode me. So directions, you're going to remove the unnecessary you and else in order for you to decode the following words. And you are going to write your answer on the space provided after each item. So numbers 1 to 5. So start nyo nang i-decode. Ano kaya yung mga word na gustong ipa-decode sa inyo? So I will give you a clue. For number 1, it starts with the letter D. Number 2 is C. Number 3, E. Number 4, F. And number 5, S. So, after nyong ma-decode yan yung ilan sa mga words na pag-uusapan natin sa susunod na discussion. So, now as mentioned earlier, Sabi natin, di ba, that the kinetic molecular theory explains how a certain phase will be changed into another phase, di ba? And this time, and all these 6 processes, we're going to discuss them one by one. So first, we have the deposition. So deposition is the process or the phase of transition in which gas transforms into solid without passing through the liquid phase. And deposition is also known as the sublimation, and it is a thermodynamic process. And when we say thermodynamic process, so the pressure and volume of a given matter is involved. And as you can see in the picture, so that is the process of deposition or the sublimation. Next, we have condensation. So sa picture makikita natin, no? And I'm sure na-observe nyo na yan kapag meron kang malamig na tubig, nasa bottled water or nasa baso, suddenly iniwan mo lang, tapos magpapawis yan. And that is the process of condensation, wherein this is the conversion of water, vapor, or gas to liquid. Third, we have evaporation. So evaporation is the process by which water changes from liquid into a gas or vapor, especially because of the addition of heat. So every time na magpapakulo ka kunwari ng tubig, no, mag-evaporate yung water particles, yung water is ma-change siya from liquid into a gas or vapor. Next, we have sublimation. So sublimation is the process of a substance directly from the solid state going to the gas state without even passing through the liquid state. So this time, example nito is yung idea natin about ice, ba? Yung yellow. Yung yellow, pag inilabas mo yan, kaya yan umuusok-usok minsan, that is because there is a direct transformation of that solid into a gas state. Nakala natin matutunaw muna siya tapos saka mo siya i-boil. Hindi ganun. Kundi sa sublimation, pinapakita dito the direct conversion of the solid into the gas state. Next, number 5, we have melting. So I'm sure familiar na kayo sa process of melting, in which this is the physical process that results in the phase transition of a substance from a solid to a liquid form. So as you can see on the picture, so meron tayo dyang ice dahil tinanggal siya sa freezer. So ngayon, di ba, siya ay magme-melt. And counterpart of melting is the what we call freezing. So this is the last phase transition in which the liquid turns into a solid when its temperature is lowered below its freezing point. So ito makikita natin tubig, pero dahil sobrang lamig, ayan, tumigas. And now it's your turn. So kindly answer activities that follow. So activity number 6, it is entitled Fill Me Out. So below is a blank table. You can find this blank table in your module. So blank table, and you are asked to fill out the necessary details that will describe the comparison between characteristics of solids and liquids in terms of their properties and particles. Activity 7 is short quiz. So read each statement carefully. Choose the best answer of the letter that fits the statement or question by encircling the letter that corresponds to your answer. Activity 8 is label my process. So below is a diagram showing the summary of the kinetic molecular theory, and you are tasked to label its processes by writing your answer on the blank that corresponds to the process. And activity 9 for your transfer is my KMT model. So directions: make a model of the kinetic molecular theory showing the different processes that are involved in this theory. Put your model on a whole sheet of shortband paper. Make sure it is as creative as you can. Be sure to add the different labels that are mentioned above, and check the rubric below for rating. So content 50%, creativity 25%, organization of ideas 25%. So that ends module number 1 for General Chemistry 2. And this time, if you have any questions and clarifications, don't hesitate to contact me at my FB account RJ Solis Olarve, Gmail disciplerj at gmail.com. Cellphone number is 0975-705-1548, and just a friendly and fatherly advice: when you eat or drink or do anything else, always do it to honor God. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 31. So sa pagkasagot nyo ng mga activities, so always remind yourself na hindi nyo na ito ginagawa kasi required. Instead, ginagawa nyo to for you to honor God in everything that you do. So God bless, STEM 12. See you on our next video tutorial.